I move that the approval of the amendments be accorded with the staff suggestions attached.
Support. Support. Further discussion?
I would hope that before we make a final vote, excuse me, that if anybody here would like to make some comments, we're here listening.
We'll open it to the public. If someone wants to speak, raise your hand, come forward to the microphone there, and we'll limit the time to 3 minutes, and you could speak as you raise your hand.
Good evening, thank you. I'm David Munson. I live in the city of Adrian, and I'm affiliated with Great Lakes Wind and Blissfield Wind Energy. And I'm here to support the Region 2 Planning Commission recommendations and the wind zoning ordinance as passed by the Palmyra Planning Commission. And one of the comments that I'd like to make has to do with economics, and I know that that's not the main thrust of this, but the long career as an economic developer, I think in terms of this is an economic development project as well. And the impact of this project, if built, we get to build our project, then the county will have a stable source of new income that I think is very important. Just yesterday, the Center for Local, State, and Public Policy, State and Urban Policy, Gerald R. Ford School of Public Policy at the University of Michigan, put out its semi-annual findings survey of all local governments, and it talks about the concerns that local elected officials have over declining property tax revenues, declining state aid, home foreclosures, tax delinquencies, and such, and we're all familiar with that. And I think every unit of our local business, every unit of local government has these challenges. This project would provide, in terms of support for LISD's special education program, because LISD would be the largest beneficiary of the taxes, and that would affect all of the county. Special ed would receive about $330,000 a year, and over 20 years that would be $3.7 million. Vocational ed would receive $230,000 a year, $2.6 million in 20 years. There's another LISD portion of millage that isn't further identified as $20,000 a year, $2.2 million. And that's a total of $580,000 a year to LISD and $6.6 million over the life of this project. And the county itself is in there for about $4.5 million during that same time, during the 20 years. And I know that that's an important consideration for local government. It's an important part of how this project benefits also as this is on select few. And I will leave a copy of this Gerald Ford study. It's unfortunately just too familiar to all of us, but this is a key way. And Jeff Ealer had also passed out for you a letterhead here that shows how those taxes will be divided. Some of this is particular to Ogden, but there's a chart on the right that is township, county, LISD, and school sinking funds. I failed to mention the school sinking funds would get about $150,000 a year, $1.7 million in 20 years under this. And I'd also want to make clear that tax abatements are not allowed for wind turbine projects or wind energy projects. So the millage is not just decreased, making this, in my estimation, one of the best economic development projects that could be found for the county and help stabilize income long term. And I will leave this copy that I promised. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Evening, Mr. Chairman, Planning Commission. My name is Perry Pooley from our township, 11-year member of the Planning Commission. Wind turbines are a farming issue in a farming district, and it should be determined by the farming community. No one is more concerned about the farming district than the farmers themselves. If the wind turbines were not good for the landowners and their neighbors, they would not have signed any contract. We started on a wind ordinance in November of 2010. We compared several existing wind ordinances from around the state and one presented from Exxon Wind. We researched Michigan State Extension and Michigan State Land Institute. Listened to and read several papers presented by the IICC to come up with an ordinance that would protect our citizens from our township and the surrounding areas from the noise, flicker, and inconvenience of the wind turbines. This ordinance is more restrictive than any other in the state that has existing wind turbines. The ordinance had two purposes. One, to protect the health, safety, and welfare of our citizens and the surrounding area citizens. And two, to allow the landowners in our farming district to use their land to make a profit. Yes, farming is for a profit. Our farming district was created to create a quiet living area for people to move into so they could get away from the big city life. It was created to protect the agricultural land from urban sprawl and influence. If we want to do any kind of economic development in our township that did not need a large amount of water, did not need sewer, did not pollute, and did not affect the river raising, a wind turbine would fit right in. Approximately 12 years ago, there was an application for a cell phone tower in the area of Humphrey Highway and 223 in Palmyra Township. The neighbors didn't want it. No one wanted to look out their window to see a 200-foot cell phone tower. They thought it wasn't necessary, and they certainly thought it was going to lower the property value. The application was denied. Approximately 4 to 5 years later, 1 mile to the west of the area of Ogden Highway at 223, there was a second application for a cell phone tower. At that point, the state of Michigan came out with a directive. If there is a need and it helps the general public, we are not to zone against it. So let's compare cell phone towers to wind turbines. Is there a need for electricity? I believe everyone here has electricity in their homes. And does it benefit the general public? A single wind turbine creates enough electricity for approximately 5,000 homes. So yes, I believe there is a need and it does benefit the general public. The ordinance isn't perfect, and there's part of it that I don't agree with, but it's a lot more protective of our citizens than any other current ordinance in the state, except Ragas, whose wind ordinance is so restrictive, it's exclusionary. There's two changes the township board made that I disagree with. They raise the setback on the property line from 2 times to 3 times the height and lower the DVAs from 45 to 40. Neither one of these is necessary to protect the wind turbine neighbors. We have done our research and set the setback and noise level at adequate protective position. Finally, how does wind turbines relate to our current ordinance and our master plan? Page 1 of the ordinance book under purposes, 1.3a, to meet the needs of the citizens for food, fiber, energy, and other natural resources, places of residence, recreation, industry, trade, service, and other land uses. To condense it down, it reads, to meet the needs of the state citizens for energy. And this was written almost 40 years ago. Wind energy does meet the purpose of our current ordinance. Also in the same purpose on the same page, it states in 1.3e, and to promote public health, safety, and welfare. So does the flicker noise of a wind turbine conflict with 1.3e? In my opinion, the way this ordinance is written, it does not. With the farming district special approval uses for the placement of wind turbines and our recommended setbacks, I believe we'll avoid conflict with residential areas. With the changes back to 2 times the setback and the noise level at 45 dBA, I support this ordinance. Thank you.
Jim Leonard, I was chairman of the Planning Commission. As Perry mentioned, our Planning Commission worked hard seeking out the facts, doing the research, receiving input, visiting the wind turbine sites. Ultimately, each individual formed their own opinion and contributed to making the document that we wrote specifically for Palmyra Township. At our regular meetings, the majority of those people who spoke were from Riga, Ogden Township, Savannah, Ohio. Why? I don't know. They had plenty of opportunity to influence and shape their ordinances in their townships, but that did not mean what was good for their area is good for ours. Unfortunately, there was also a poor record of attendance by many of the township board members. Yet, in one night, these members made significant changes on the document that we worked for months to write. Our township board decided to change their planning commission's proposal from one that would allow for the possibility of wind turbines to one similar to that of the exclusionary ordinance that was accepted in adjoining township. How much research went into their decisions? Were they basing their choices on science, personal interest, fear of reprisal, or what they believed in was the best interest of the township's future? In this period of financial uncertainty, I think they're being irresponsible. When township equipment, buildings, roads are in poor shape, the lack of safe drinking water in the village, even at the township hall, are realities. What is the solution? The income is not there to address these issues. Many of the Riga residents have said they don't like the ethanol plant and wonder what will happen when the government support of these facilities end. But if and when it does, they will still have a new safe water system for their village. Our township reputation right now isn't the best because people see what they think of as salvage yards with junk vehicles on both the east and west borders of our township. And there's a landfill in the middle. At least the landfill has contributed valuable tax revenue that is helping our community. Wind turbines will give our township a chance to have more of that important source of revenue to be a leader in green energy projects in this county. It would represent progress and it would be an example of how technology and its advances are welcome in Palmyra Township, as long as it's responsible. Since the Palmyra Township Board meeting last Tuesday night, I've contacted personally all but one of the members. With one exception, we are all disappointed in what feels like to be a lack of respect for our commitment, research, and decisions that we made. We endured public censure on multiple occasions, had questions about our personal integrity directed towards us. Throughout, we did our best to remain professional and respectful. I hope you will see the original ordinance from the Palmyra Township Planning Commission as a document that was put together by concerned and involved residents of this township, and vote to accept the original proposal as a reflection of a significant effort and belief in what is the best interest of Palmyra Township and its residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Laura Van Camp, Palmyra Township resident. I just want to address a couple things that I've heard so far from people from our planning commission. I attended every single meeting that they had in regards to this ordinance. And the first thing I'd like to say is, Perry Cooley only read a portion of the letter that he actually submitted during the meeting that they approved the ordinance and decided to pass it along to the township. And one of the things that he said was basically, in farmers' country, farmers rule. This is not 17th century England, and they are not the lords of the manor, and us, their peasants, and they can do whatever they wish and control what happens to the rest of us. Whether I own 1 acre or 1,000 acres, or I've lived there a year, or I've lived there 100 years of my family, we all have equal rights under the law. And there is nothing that is worse than having one person benefit to another person's loss when we are supposed to all be treated equally. We're not against, this shirt does not have a turbine with a big red line through it. It doesn't say we can't have turbines. It's saying that we need to be cautionary, that we can't go back and change this later if we do find that people have health issues or can't sleep at night or feel unsafe in their backyards because the turbines are too close. There's no moving it after that. So we ask that you be precautionary because this is a relatively new technology in terms of being in such a populated area. You may have read the article that James McClenathan had in the Advance about a turbine complex out in Indiana. that the people are very happy with. They have 9,000 residents in their county, and Lenawee County has about 100,000. That's a big difference, and that can explain a lot as to why they're satisfied with it, because there are far fewer people to be impacted by them. Our biggest thing is consent and compensation. You can, if we are such a small group of people who disagree with how this is going about, then there should be no problem in making a larger setback and allowing the wind companies to receive the consent and therefore compensate the people who don't mind them being closer. If there are only a few of us that are not going to participate and everyone else is very for this project, it shouldn't be a problem for them to go about their good neighbor contract and compensate people for the turbines being closer. And us very few people who aren't happy with them would have our larger setbacks. And then everyone would be at least somewhat happy with the project at hand, rather than forcing it upon other people who should have just as much right to their property as someone who owns larger acreage. And one thing I just real quick want to comment on is, I don't know how long ago it was, I don't have the date. There was an article about some of you going to see turbines, and one of the quotes in the paper, and I remember without having to refresh my memory, that seeing is knowing. That is not the case. Seeing is not knowing. And although I recommend everyone to go down and look at one, standing under it for 20 minutes or an hour is not the same as living under it or sleeping under it for the next 30 years. So please keep that in mind. The amount of research that we've done, even compared to the Planning Commission, the amount of things that we've turned into them that they did not read, or even the Township Board that they have not read. How can you make a decision on something when you haven't spent hours researching it? So please keep that in mind.
Josh Van Camp, Ogden Township resident. I'm here tonight on behalf of my sister. I heard some comments made tonight that the Planning Commission had looked at extensive scientific research and coming to their decision. I question how extensive their research really was, though, in the fact that they relied on the testimony of one expert, Peter Goldberg, that the developers provided. In the meantime, the IICC provided 3 different experts that recommended a 40 decibel or lower sound limit. Rick James of Okemos, Rob Rand of Maine, and Dr. Jerry Punch of Lansing. And so we had 3 experts, they had 1. So they seem to have put a lot of weight in the value of Mr. Goldberg. So I wanted to read a couple things that comes from some testimony that Mr. Goldberg gave in a case in Vermont where he actually testified on behalf of some residents there. Some of the things here he mentions, recent research reveals that low-frequency modulated sound from wind farms at night are the most annoying audible sounds these installations produce. Or, these types of audible noise from wind farms that people find most objectionable. Audible tones and a rhythmic beating character of noise that often occurs in the evening. Going on, they asked him the question, this is written testimony again under oath, what types of noise are produced by a large wind turbine generator? There are 3 components to wind turbine generator noise. Broadband aerodynamic sound caused by the airflow around the blades, mechanical noise from the gearbox and generator that may contain discrete pure tones, and beating noise that is amplitude modulated, i.e. the sound pressure rises and falls at the time at a rate that matches the blade passage frequency. And then he's talking about, this question is addressing this other consultant's report. It says, of this particular person's report, says only the first broadband aerodynamic sound, which is the type of noise least likely to annoy people. The second and third kinds of noise, audible tones and impulse noise, were not analyzed. These are the 2 types of noise are also the impacts most likely to adversely affect public health and aesthetics. So again, talking about the annoying, impulsive nature of wind turbine noise, he describes the highly annoying, impulsive noise that the turbines generate. It says, this impulse noise would substantially impact public health and aesthetics in the quiet rural area where the UPC wind park is proposed, again, in discussing this project that he provided testimony on. Again, later on in the testimony you have, To blend well with an existing acoustic environment, a wind farm would need to have a frequency spectrum similar to that of an existing rural environment. The wind turbine noise has a strong low-frequency component, and as previously discussed, the wind farm would likely produce annoying impulse noise out of character with the existing rural quiet environment. Finally, one of the things that was mentioned in the Palmyra ordinance, they have, that when they go to test, they can test up to a 30-mile-an-hour per wind. Mr. Goldberg's own testimony indicates that those measurements should not be performed in a wind speed above 11 miles per hour due to wind causing microphone noise. So we heard people talk today and say that the RIDE ordinance is exclusionary. The RIDE ordinance is not exclusionary. The developers have a mechanism in which they can buy people's participation in the project using simple market mechanisms. The fact is, though, they don't want to pay for those. They want those costs to be imposed on the residents of the properties, and there's no recourse. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Doug Ewing with Next One Wind. I just wanted to address the tax issue again. I know it's not directly relevant to zoning, but yet it's been much discussed. There is, as many are aware, discussions in Lansing about